Star Trek isn't really known for overt racism, promoting terrorism, or exploding heads, but there are plenty of times when the franchise went a little too far into where no man had gone before. In the penultimate episode of the Next Generation's first season, the showrunners borrowed from some body horror classics to deliver a truly shocking entry called Conspiracy. The episode follows the Enterprise D crew as they work to uncover a hidden plot by a race of parasitic aliens who've invaded the highest levels of Starfleet. It's a bit of classic space horror that ends when Picard and Riker set their phasers to kill, exploding a human head in vivid detail. The result earned them a ban from the BBC and a warning from Canadian broadcasters. It was a shockingly gory moment for the series that was usually about diplomacy, technology, and scientific experiments. The BBC didn't air Conspiracy for a few years, and when it finally did, many of the more shocking parts were edited out. You'd think that the Next Generation would be more enlightened than the original series, but TNG aired one of the most racist episodes in the franchise. Code of Honor was the third episode of the show's first season, and it was a disaster. The crew of the Enterprise D visit a planet in hopes of picking up a vaccine to stop an alien plague, except the aliens happen to be black humanoids with exaggerated East African accents, scars, and a textbook noble savage culture. The plot quickly devolves as their leader takes Starfleet officer Tasha Yar hostage and tries to force her into marriage.
The abduction I have done according to our custom for all to see.
The original script for Code of Honor focused on a reptilian samurai race, but later drafts of the script gave the aliens a more human appearance, allegedly to reduce the show's special effects budget. Ultimately, the bizarrely racist stereotypes made the whole episode a disaster, and it was universally hated by cast and fans alike. Actor Jonathan Frakes called the episode a racist piece of shit, while Brent Spiner called it the worst episode we ever did. Sci-fi is all about using alien societies to critique human behavior and Earth's troubled history. Landing parties from the Enterprise have discovered worlds that resemble 1920s Chicago and ancient Rome, but the 1968 episode Patterns of Force took aim at Nazi Germany. Kirk and Spock visit the planet Akos to investigate a missing Federation historian, but quickly notice his influence over the evolution of the planet's society, and they're horrified to find that he's installed a full-on Nazi government. While the episode unequivocally condemned the Nazis and the anti-fascist theme was on point, their use of memorabilia, symbols, real World War II stock footage, and clips from Triumph of the Will earned them a 27-year ban in Germany after Nazis lost the war. Patterns of Force wasn't available in Germany until a VHS release in 1995, and kept off the air until 1996, when restrictions on Nazi imagery were relaxed. Despite Star Trek taking place outside the bounds of Earth, it's an American show, which sometimes led to cultural messages being perceived differently overseas. 4 episodes of the original series received hard bans from the BBC, leaving them unavailable to UK audiences for many years. Season 1's Miri took place on a planet with a Lord of the Flies-like child autocracy, depicting children behaving unkindly to their elders, and Captain Kirk trying to seduce a 19-year-old actress playing an even younger girl. It aired only once before the BBC started receiving complaints, prompting them to clamp down on behaviors that might be imitated. 3 Season 3 episodes were banned also: Whom Gods Destroy, Plato's Stepchildren, and The Empath, all of which depicted some form of torture or overt sexuality. The BBC's enforcement of this censorship was inconsistent, and many episodes that featured similar themes were aired without issue. Still, most UK viewers had to wait for the show to be released on VHS before they could see the offending episodes. By the 90s, the once banned episodes finally aired, but new censorship efforts set in. A 1990 episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation, entitled The High Ground, was banned because it mentions a fictional Irish unification of 2024 as an example of effective terrorism.
Would it be accurate to say that terrorism is acceptable when all options for peaceful settlement have been foreclosed?
At the time, Ireland's troubles were still ongoing, and the promotion of terrorism as a positive action wasn't a great fit for TV. Every Trek series has to have at least one unwatchable episode, and for Voyager, that episode was Threshold, which was weird even for Voyager, a show where cheese almost destroyed the ship once. Stick with us. Lieutenant Tom Paris becomes the first person to successfully pilot a ship beyond Warp 10, putting him at every point in the universe at once. This inexplicably triggers a genetic malfunction, causing him to gradually transform into a lizard monster. He kidnaps Captain Janeway and flees to a swamp planet, because that's what lizard men do. By the time Voyager catches up with them, both Paris and Janeway are weird, slimy lizards, and they've had 3 lizard babies. The crew leave the newborns behind, bring their friends home, and nobody ever talks about it again.
I've thought about having children. But I must say I never considered having them with you.
The episode is either genius in how weird it is, or one of the worst episodes of all time, depending on who you ask. Writer Brannon Braga claimed that a line explaining more details about the lizard evolution process was omitted, effectively making most of the episode make no sense. Of course, that version of the episode would still feature a likable character abducting and impregnating their captain, so it's an episode that goes way too far either way. O'Brien must suffer is a phrase familiar to most Star Trek fans, and for good reason. Fan favorite Irish actor Colm Meaney played Chief Miles O'Brien in 52 episodes of Next Generation before crossing over to become a main cast member on Deep Space Nine. Unfortunately for O'Brien, many of his stories treat him like total trash. In Whispers, O'Brien spends most of his time unconscious while a duplicate takes his place. When he wakes up, one of the first traumatic things he sees is a perfect doppelganger of himself dying. In Tribunal, he receives a life sentence for crimes he didn't commit, awaits execution, and becomes a political pawn. Perhaps the wildest example, Hard Time, sees him undergo a 20-year psychic prison sentence for another unfair charge, which he experiences in a matter of moments. He lives with the PTSD of 20 years in the hole and the false memory of murdering his cellmate for the rest of his life, because even in the future, they can fix everything, except for severe depression. Star Trek is generally unafraid to address societal issues, but not every attempt works well. The original series episode, The Paradise Syndrome, is one of those massive flubs. The episode depicts a planet populated by Native American inhabitants who were teleported off of Earth by a well-meaning alien species. While the Enterprise crew tries to stop an asteroid from hitting the planet, Kirk loses his memory and winds up in a love affair with a local woman. Apparently, trying to find actual Native American actors wasn't in the budget. The planet's inhabitants are almost all white actors wearing brown makeup. While the episode did have a few indigenous actors, most of them went uncredited. A much later episode of Next Generation, Journey's End, made up for some errors of the past by casting actual Native American actors as another colony of spacefarers, but Star Trek took another massive step back for Voyager. Actor Robert Beltran's connection to Commander Chakotay's Native American heritage was tenuous at best, and the series hired notorious conman Jamake Highwater as a consultant in regards to Native American culture. While their motives were in the right place, Highwater had been exposed as early as 1984 for pretending to be Cherokee. The result was a confusing and superficial backstory for Chakotay's character with little resemblance to actual Native American customs.
Kuchimoya.